I will say this: you brought up those beats at the end. Now I'm gonna tell you that was memorable for me because all those beats was beats that was made in oh 06. The voicemail beat. Those were beats when I first got in the computer. Cosign from the interns, he was like, man, you got to get in the computer to make your beats. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, really? You know, now Doug was in the computer, but I was never messed with it. So I got into Reasons, and those were the first beats that I made, you know, around that time. And I had them all this time. So I was like, man, let's put some beats under these things. I said, man, I don't really have anything, you know, and I said, well, I'm just going to get some old beats. So I went through my email and found all these old beats from 06. And I didn't realize how dope they were. So I'm like, man, I got to go back to a lot of these old beats and rehash these old beats, you know what I'm saying? Because they was different, you know, for that, you know, at that time it was different. And so that was something that that was dope for me. I think Church versus Church, that was, you know, because I played with that record, I played with that sample. I sped it up 3 times, you know what I'm saying? It was slower than that. I sped it up 3 times. And I had my guy play on it. And when he played the keys on it, I was like, man, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? It was dope. It was different. It was dope. I was shocked when he came with the hook and all that. So I didn't know what he was going to rap on with the hook. But when I heard the hook, and I was like, man, this is dope. This is crazy. Like, like this is dope how he thought of that. So that was one of the ones that really caught me, that one. And Knock Knock was the 2, because Knock Knock was a Dionne Ward record that was really something that was one of the first samples that I ever, well, not that particular sample, but that record. It's another record on there that was one of the first beats I ever made, was from that album. And I've been able to make that beat from that album, brought back a lot of memories. And that was the beat, not that beat, but that record. A record on that album was the one that I made Ye, because he wanted to use it to shop it. So that's the first time I went to his house, to, you know, because before I would just see him at Dion's house. And I took that record, the Dionne Ward record, to his house, and we worked on it. So that record right there, you know what I'm saying, Knock Knock was kind of like something that, you know, that took me back to the 90s, you know what I'm saying? But the whole experience was dope to me. I think, Twan talks about, you know, how we picked a lot of samples and stuff that we was going to use for the project, and I only used one of them. We did totally new stuff for the project, and I think I didn't even realize it because I just wanted to create something dope. And I think that was the biggest thing, you know, for me. That whole process was just powerful. You know what I'm saying? It was powerful. What you got, Twan?
Man, for me, it's funny he brought up the samples. So, for me, what's been memorable for me is I've been using this time and recording process to kind of put myself back in that space where I was being pushed. So, Sick hadn't even realized that that's what happened until after the fact. The album had been out already. And I never brought it up because when he started just sending me new stuff like, here, this a beat for the project, this a beat for the project, all the shit was dope. And I was like, well, let me just use this to push myself to create. It was an opportunity for me to remove myself out of the way and as an artist allow, you know, work with my brother as a producer, because I look at the project like the beat, that's his art, that's his contribution to the canvas. So let that be what it is. Now, what can I add to this? And it was dope because it pushed me to really dig deeper and create. Some of the most memorable stuff about the project for me, I find it humbling. I appreciate it, but I find it humbling that the first song, God Bless It, gets so much love, because that song was written and recorded. It wasn't even written. It was recorded to be an interlude. because what it was that I was having an anxiety attack at the time. I was just experiencing some anxiety. I had a bunch of shit. I was emotional, teared up in my home, and I just took to my phone at the time. I had the beat, and I just hit record and just said what the fuck was on my mind. So it wasn't scripted or anything. So to see how people react to that is humbling, because people could hear the sincerity and the emotion and the rawness, and it ain't even got a hook. It's just a long verse. So it amazes me how people draw to that, though I'm humbled by it. That's a memorable moment for me. And another memorable piece for me is that Percy Freedom was the second record, was one of the records that we already had. What's interesting is I've had that beat now for a few years. I attempted recording that song with the same raps that's on it today at least 25 times, bro, over the years. I could never get it right, because in my mind, it was some takes that was dope, but in my mind, it was a certain level of pain that needed to be communicated in that record, and it just wasn't translating with whatever I was doing at the time. But now you have all the things with the health situation going on, the quarantine, and just all of the emotions brewed up from that. When we pulled that beat up this time, it was one take Jake. Let's go, because I already knew the raps. They were already here.
Right.
It was one take Jake. So now to hear people say that's one of their favorite records is humbling, and people be like, man, you sound like one of them young boys on this. You sound powerful and young. But in my mind, me and Chris know, we've been sitting on that record for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, at least 2 years. Yeah.